Hello and welcome back to Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast. My name is Mark, one of your illustrious hosts here with you tonight. We're here with my wonderful wife, Jamie.
Hello.
And we are here to give you, well, what we deem important in the world of wrestling and everything in between.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people disagree with what we have to say this week, of course, but we're going to be covering a little bit of All Elite Wrestling and a little bit of NJPW as well.
Not going to be touching too much on WWE. Not that WWE doesn't have the same product they've had for years.
Yeah, we're still watching. We're still tweeting at CAW Wrestling Pod.
Yeah, they're building up SummerSlam, which will be in Detroit, which is at the end of this month.
Actually, I really don't know.
I don't remember. They've got so many of them at this point that I can't even remember when they are. But they're building up to SummerSlam. We've got a possible three-way between Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and Asuka with Io Sky off in the rafters with her Money in the Bank. We've got some stuff going on with Imperium. Of course, you always have the storyline of the Bloodline, which has been quite possibly the one thing that's kept WWE interesting for the past 6 months. We've hit a point to where Jamie and I we watch it. I mean, we watch Raw and SmackDown every week.
We're there.
It's
a little lackluster.
Lackluster, doesn't really do much for us, and we're always trying to focus on the positive of wrestling. And so we're just going to talk about the things that we enjoyed this week, past couple weeks, what's coming up and mostly it was AEW and NJPW. The G1 Climax started this week on the 15th and 16th out in Japan, and both of them are for free on NJPWworld.com. You don't have to pay for the first two of them or even have a subscription. The first two are 100% free. And I'm telling you right now, between that, the press conference, and the second
I'm sold.
night, it sold 100%. It's what, 7 hours worth of wrestling for free?
It's pretty intense. You know, they had the conference the first night. The night before they actually started the G1, then they had over 3 hours the first night, over 3 hours the second night. It's a lot, and this is the biggest G1 Climax that NJPW has ever done.
Yep, 32
with 32 participants. So very interesting. They're doing 20-minute matches, which is just perfect enough if you don't know who these guys are and you're interested in watching it. This is a great way to do it.
It's reduced down from 30 minutes of previous years, but with the amount of people they have, you have to do that.
I like it, though, because it's just sweet enough. You know, at the most, you're going 20 minutes. You're able to see, everything that both of these guys can kind of produce in that time, but it leaves you wanting more, so it's just enough.
Don't ask what that was. You're right. It does give you just enough for these guys to put on a great match, to not make it too much. And you're going to get 8 matches on every single one of these nights with 32 men in each block, 8 men. 32 men overall, 8 men in each block. Each night has 2 blocks doing one of their rounds, so you're getting a total of 8 matches. I mean,
everybody faces everybody at one point, so it's really good. There's no this person got screwed over and they fell massively behind. It's kind of an interesting thing, kind of like hockey, to where you can build up your points and at the last second kind of come through. So it's a really cool idea. I don't think NJPW cares what you say about what you say about the company in general.
No, not at that press conference or anything. That was insane.
Yeah, it really was. So we're going to start off with NJPW, or you want to go ahead and talk about what's going on in AEW?
Let's go ahead and start with AEW. We're getting a little bit off kilter like we always do. But we are going to start off with AEW. I think the first thing we got to mention, number one, Mark Briscoe. He's, it's our AEW adjacent with ROH. Our thoughts and prayers to him. Hopefully he gets better. He has sustained apparently a knee injury. I don't know if it was in ring, outside of the ring.
What a bummer.
Chasing chickens, whatever he's doing.
Chasing chickens, it could be.
But it seems
he's such a big part of ROH, so not to have him for a few months is going to be really detrimental.
Well, supposedly reports are saying he's more than likely going to be out for the rest of the year. The injury is going to require surgery for him to recover, which sucks because he was slated to fight Claudio Castagnoli for the ROH World title. A replacement has not been announced officially yet. However, I'm sure if you go on the internet and do a quick Google search, ROH has been recorded for this week before Dynamite. So there are already matches set up, and the actual card for Supercard of Honor, which is next weekend, if I'm remembering.
Next Friday, correct.
Next Friday, has already been set up, ready to go. So if you're one of those people where you don't want to watch the weekly show and you want to know who's coming or what the final card for Supercard of Honor, it's out there.
It's there.
But I digress. Big ups to Mark Briscoe. Hopefully he feels better, gets better, and we see him soon on ROH programming. But also, we all have Tony Khan loves throwing together these tournaments for whatever reason.
I love them, and I really wasn't sure what they were doing when they announced a blind.
It was so quiet,
eliminator tag team match.
It was so quiet. Oh yeah, they have matches for the blind tag team eliminator match,
and they never explained what a blind tag team was. But basically, it was RJ City. And I can't remember who the other one was, but they were pulling names out of the little bingo spinny thing.
Bingo hall selector.
If your grandma plays bingo, then you definitely know what that thing is.
Yeah.
But you got the little round swirly thing with the names on it, and RJ City happened to pull out some very interesting names for this tournament.
Now it's been a couple weeks, so we've had a couple of teams eliminated. We had some teams like Brian Cage, Big Bill. We had
that was a fun team.
Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara somehow got teamed up. There's just a couple other just really interesting
Orange Cassidy
pairings.
and Darby was really good.
Swerve and Keith Lee got back together for a single match, which it's always fun, and I don't know why we're still teasing this rivalry that they still haven't 100% finished, but would love to see something develop from that, especially since Swerve is now with Mogul Embassy 100% because Trench?
Yes.
Trench is now officially gone with AEW. God knows where Parker Borduro's been. Hopefully he comes back.
He said he's coming back.
Him.
He said he's coming back. He's still on the roster.
But on Dynamite this week, we had Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia took on Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin in a callback to a match that happened a few weeks ago, the Four Pillars match with Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin going toe-to-toe with MJF and Jungle Boy in a fatal four-way for the AEW World Championship. So this also develops the story of Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia kind of having some rivalry between each other. Even though they've been on a team for, over a year, there's some dissension going on with the Jericho Appreciation
and separately,
Society.
too, both of them have kind of hinted that they are possibly not going to be with JAS.
Well, Jericho seems like he might not be making it a choice to them.
Yeah,
and of course,
Don Callis family.
Jake Hager turned his hat in.
That was a really interesting
Said he
part of
loved
this week.
that hat and now no longer has that hat. So that was a good little segment. I didn't end up writing that down. So that something worth mentioning. Finally, Jake Hager had a halfway decent speaking part.
It was good.
He really cut a halfway decent promo on AEW
really
programming.
He had a lot to say, and it had some validity to it too. He said, I left a perfect MMA career to
Which
come
he did.
here
I think
because
he was 5-0 or 6-0.
Yeah, he said, because you wanted me to be here, I came here for you. And if you're gonna not give me a straight answer about whether you're gonna join the Don Callis family or not, I'm out.
I can't wear this hat, and turns on and gave him
I can
his
respect
hat.
it. I like the idea that Jake's kind of doing his own thing too, and is the first one to just openly be like, I'm out.
Right. And if you've followed Jake Hager's career for the past couple of years, he was Jack Swagger in WWE, had a really good run for a very short amount of time until he got into a little bit of trouble, had some nose candy and a little bit of weed on him, got pulled over, and ended up kind of ruining his world heavyweight championship run, and it kind of soured Jake Hager.
Too bad, man. That whole thing was just really, really good.
And you can really see how well he's developed since then. Even just in his speaking, and of course, Cody Rhodes, very famous for having a lisp when he was younger, has now completely overcome it. You can hardly or even hear it anymore.
Yeah,
and the
same with
thing
Jake.
Jake Hager. It was very, very little of his normal lisp that he has. You could hear him concisely, very clear. I don't know how we got on Jake Hager from the tag team matches, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Jake Hager, hopefully doing something more than just being the hat wearing guy.
Yeah, and hopefully the Jericho and Co. Groups will kind of fizzle out so we can get a little bit more of a singles run from some of these people that I think have been stifled a little bit by being in a group with Jericho.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara are a perfect example of that.
Yep.
And I mean, who they faced later on is an even bigger example of that.
Absolutely. But they end up going up against Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin this
Great
last
match.
week on Dynamite. Orange Cassidy and Darby Allin are just a really fun team. Doesn't make sense, but you know, with their wrestling styles, it really works. It's like the yin and yang.
Two smaller guys.
Yeah, really fast, very quick, very precise.
Oh, I mean, you've got
fun.
sloth style and you got goth style. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? It really is. Sammy Guevara, I apologize. Darby Allin goes out there and swings for the fences. He throws his body around. He tries to do as much damage as he possibly can. Whereas Orange Cassidy really just outlasts everybody. You know, he's on the offensive a lot, and he does, the Slumdog Millionaire. He does the orange punch, but he really lets the opponent blow their load, excuse my French, but on the match, and then he comes in and swoops in the opportunist.
Very much like Darby.
Things. Yeah, but in the same sense, Darby goes after it. Orange stays back, so to combine these two, like you said, a yin to a yang, two small guys, they kind of fit really well together. Doesn't make sense, but it does when you put them in the ring. And they had a great match between Sammy and Daniel. Unfortunately, they weren't able to get the win, so Sammy and Daniel move on to face off against a team of MJF and Adam Cole, who won over Brian Cage and Big Bill, which, by the way, great pairing with those two.
Great pairing. Now, that was a team. That was my favorite random team, though, but they worked.
That was your favorite
really
team?
Well. No, aside from this one, that got eliminated so far. Big Bill and Brian just work really well together, and I really have to give credit to Brian Cage. I've never seen Brian work with somebody, and it just didn't work.
Right.
He works well with people when it comes to a tag team, but he works well against people. And for being such a big guy, he has absolutely no problem taking a bump for you if he likes you.
And he moves
he's like Brock. I know.
He compliments.
Incredible.
You would think you put him in a ring with somebody like Orange Cassidy or Darby Allin or Sammy Guevara or Daniel Garcia, a small, nimble, like agile guy, and you think, oh man, this is going to be classic. It's only over when the big guy gets a hold of the small guy, and it's completely the opposite. The big guy's doing front flips, he's doing suicide dives, he's doing all these crazy off the ropes and off the top turnbuckle and flippy floppy moves, and you're just like, damn, this dude can move. And Brian Cage is just phenomenal.
He's so quick, but he'll take the bumps for you. He'll make you look really good. He puts everybody over. So him pairing with Big Bill was just really fun. MJF at first said that he was not going to be able to make the match and try to get out of this one once more. And Adam Cole was like, get it together.
Yeah, get your head out of your ass.
You gotta be here. The two of them had just the absolute most hysterical promo for the Fight Forever video game.
I've enjoyed the promos outside of their wrestling.
Yeah, it's been great. It was kind of a play off of like, what was it? The Rock and Mick Foley.
Yep. The Rock and Sock
video
connection.
Games, yeah.
But yeah, we've had a lot of interaction with MJF, a lot of interaction with Adam Cole, and especially with this rivalry starting. They had that great AEW World Heavyweight Championship match.
Yeah, how do you have such a good rivalry and then turn around and be best friends? I love it.
And we talked about this earlier, and I absolutely love that everybody's all about MJF right now. They think that this thing that he's doing with Adam Cole, where he's being like the buddy guy, good
better
cop,
than
bad
you,
cop,
baby.
better than you, baby. Like, I love it. MJF is never like latched on to another superstar besides Chris Jericho, and
he's doing the intro with Adam Cole, getting down on his knees, doing the boom, the whole thing.
Into it.
Yeah,
it's so good, and I absolutely love that everybody's buying into this. Everybody is looking at MJF and going, "Oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever." I love MJF.
Yeah, take my money.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait until MJF pulls that mask up and says something about being the devil and just fucking screws Adam Cole, and everybody goes from fuck you, I fucking hate you, MJF, you piece of shit.
And it'll be the same breath.
It'll be a light switch. It will be the stupidest thing, and you'll see MJF's face twisted to this, what am I doing, as he hits Adam Cole over the head with the fucking belt, or he costs him the tag championships.
But it's so exciting because every match that they have,
his save file.
Now you're just like, well, I just want to see them hit that double clothesline. I just want to see what's going to happen next.
He's so good at making people forget how much of a heel he is.
Exactly.
He's such a heel, he makes you think he's not a heel.
Right.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And I'm so waiting. Every time we see him on TV, I'm like, this has got to be it. This has got to be the week. This is the week that he turns and he doesn't. And I'm like,
not yet.
Oh, it makes me want it so much more.
And what does Roddy have to do with this? What does Roderick Strong have to do with this? Because every time Adam Cole is slated to have a match with MJF, Roddy's sitting there with his neck brace talking about, you trust this guy? You really trust this guy? So I don't know. I feel like there's just so much to it. Roderick's in the back, typical watching the matches, from the back while they're happening, just being super judgy, wondering why Adam's so close to MJF. And it's funny because Adam's selling it like he's not.
Yeah,
he's not my friend.
He's not my friend. He's all right. He's an all right guy. But if you notice, every week, every single week, Adam Cole gets a little bit more on the MJF train. He's wearing the shirt. He's giving him a high five. He's letting him do the intro, and he's, like you're saying, where he's like down by his feet and he does the Adam Cole baby, and he doesn't bitch about it. It's these little things, and it's MJF just reeling in Adam Cole, bringing him in, getting his guard down, and it's going to be great because right when you don't think, like, oh my God, they're going to win the tag championships. Oh my God, this is going to happen. Oh my God, they're going to be the best friends ever. He's going to completely fuck over Adam Cole.
I don't know where it's going, but this has got me
loving the journey.
Interested. I really don't want it to end.
Yeah,
great
100%.
idea. Great idea.
100%.
So again, Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia picked up the win, and also MJF and Adam Cole picked up the win. So the two of them will be going head-to-head on Dynamite to see who's going to be the number one contender to face off against FTR. I don't know what's good. What's going to come of this? Because FTR's got so much going on with Bullet Club right now too.
If you're going to bring it up, we might as well bring it up.
I'd be happy to talk about this.
So they whoever wins this blind tag gets a shot at whoever won this match, FTR versus Bullet Club Gold. We had the match last week. Bullet Club Gold ends up getting the win, and they sets up a 2 out of 3. Yeah, they set up a 2 out of 3 match for this Saturday.
Right,
this past Saturday, a Collision. And I was joking when I said they should start this with that 2 out of 3s, just throwing it out there, making like walking by you, making a joke, and I was pleasantly surprised because they did start it out. My God, what a way to start out Collision.
It was great.
This is what, the 4th episode of Collision?
I think this is the 5th. At this point, Juice Robinson has been a part of every single Collision and has wrestled, I think, a combined total of like 2.5 hours over these Collision matches. Yeah. Which is absolutely incredible. So I'm just so happy because so many people were so upset with what they were doing with Juice Robinson and Jay White, Bullet Club Gold, that they weren't, AEW wasn't doing anything. Tony Khan was just wasting Jay White as a sign. And it was pretty obvious that they were just waiting for the debut of Collision to have another show to where they could just spark this rivalry. And with them against FTR, it's been incredible. Well,
I think Tony Khan, probably bit more than he could chew, and then was like, okay, well, now that we've got all of this talent, why not build, like he said, we've got plenty of talent, why not give them another platform?
It's great. They've built so many rivalries on just Collision.
They've done such a good job with Collision. Like, it really, I love it. Like you were saying, it's great to see that they had a big risk by putting a third AEW show, whether you like AEW or not,
And 2 hours, too. It's not just
on a Saturday.
Hour.
And it's just been very, very good. Now, that being said, I think the only problem they're going to have with Collision going forward is people watching live. Because I know you and I end up running into problems. We end up doing something every Saturday night. So come about
we're dorks who play D&D.
Yeah, come about 9:30, we end up shutting off Collision, but then we end up watching it the next morning. Somehow, I know it's crazy, but we're able to stay inside of our social media bubble and not look on Twitter until the next morning to where we can catch up with Collision.
So it's been hard a little bit with normal life trying to catch up and watch another 2-hour show, but it's been one of those must-watch. I can't miss this match. I have to catch up on it in the morning.
Right. Unfortunately, though, when you add an additional hour like they did this weekend, it gets even worse because you have Battle of the Belts, which is another hour, and we're still not watching that. We had to watch that the next morning as well.
Right.
So it's interesting as to see what their numbers would be for Collision, and if they're considering the DVR versions of the show. But I digress for the 1,500th time.
2 out of 3 falls match was the one that opened it up. FTR, Bullet Club Gold.
And it was a hell of a match. We didn't have the first fall for 20.
I think it went almost 30 minutes before we ever got one.
I think it was like 28 and some change, or just under 30.
Yep.
And Bullet Club Gold ended up getting the first fall, which I don't think anybody saw coming. The second one, we ended up seeing FTR getting the win, which, you got to do that in 2 out of 3 falls. When was the last time you saw 2 out of 3 falls happen in 2?
Right, which is exactly what I said when we were watching it. Of course, FTR is going to get the second fall.
And I think at that point we were only about 30 minutes in. I don't think it wasn't that much longer after the first one that they got the win, and it was a hell of a win. Jay White really put FTR through the ringer on that one. He was kicking out of everything he could.
Nothing was keeping him down.
And then, if I remember right, I believe they ended up having to hit Juice Robinson, so it kind of like saved the integrity of Jay White's, toughness.
Yeah, Juice Robinson tapped.
And then we ended up the rest of that match was just phenomenal. From beginning to end, it was one of FTR's best TV matches, non-pay-per-view.
It was.
And of course, the Bullet Club Gold, that just absolutely laid it out on the table.
Yeah, I mean, it was just pure wrestling. There wasn't any tables or ladders or gimmicks or explosives
58
or
minutes
tacks.
of pure just back and forth.
Yeah, it
maybe
was just
some
straight
minor
up
stuff
wrestling.
here or there just to make it a little bit interesting, some outside stuff. No outside interference.
Nope.
No dirty anything outside the normal rule book of a tag match. I really thought it was just a solid 60 minutes of wrestling from FTR.
Tag team wrestling's back.
And Bullet Club Gold. Yeah, I mean,
Just all
AEW's
around,
tag
AEW's
division
killing
has
it.
been catching on fire recently. I don't know what they're doing with the belts, as in regard to if they're going to move the belts or if they're going to keep them on FTR, and then where we're going to go from here after this blind tag tournament eliminator tournament of doom. There's so much going on in AEW with the tag teams right now. And
I know, and
so
it's
good.
crazy. And you got your AEW World Champion, MJF, teaming up with Adam Cole to be facing potentially FTR, who are the tag team champions. I mean, is there even a possibility that they're going to give MJF and Adam Cole tag belts?
I could see a storyline with it happening that way. I
Even
could
if
see
it
it
was
that
just
way.
a transitional champion.
Because now you have super babyface and super heel on the same team as champions. And of course, the super heel is going to want to keep the belts by any means necessary. And
So
the
now he's gotta
goody
keep up
two-shoes
the act.
face is going to want to keep the belts
Sure.
the most legitimate way possible.
Right. And it seems like Britt Baker's already getting pissed off. You know, I think
Britt
she called at
Baker,
one
you
point.
said Roddy's
and-
getting pissed off.
Yep.
You know, and very few people are going to be very happy with Adam Cole if he's tag champions with MJF. But if he does, like, that's awesome storytelling for later on. Like,
That's
that
just
really
crazy to think. You know, they tried that with Roman and people went ape shit. You can't have 3 belts.
is Roman 3 belts, and he does have 3 belts now.
I know. It ended up working out anyways. Which I think we just saw something the other day, random. It's been over 100 days, as far as I understand, that Roman Reigns has defended his belt.
104 days as of today, he has not defended his belt. And now that you mention that, I wanted to bring this up. I have been advocating for Orange Cassidy to dethrone Roman Reigns as the top
He's the
dog
only
in
one that
wrestling.
can do it right now.
I did finally look it up today. Orange Cassidy defended his international
Yes.
championship against Lance Archer on Battle of the Belts on Saturday.
Yes.
That was his 26th defense since
Correct.
getting the belt. Roman Reigns has only defended his belt in over 1,000 days 28 times.
That's incredible. And I think Orange Cassidy's only had it a little over 200.
I don't even know how long he's had it, but
Yeah.
it's a fraction. So
It's not even a year.
Roman Reigns, who?
I know. Orange
My
Cassidy's
boy,
coming
Orange
for you.
Cassidy. He coming for you. He's there. Are you kidding me?
Orange Punch versus Superman? I don't know.
I don't know, man.
That might be the thing, is they collide mid-ring and the world just
I've
ends.
actually never thought about that. The two most prolific champions in each company
Yes.
both use the same finisher.
There you go. Keep it simple, baby.
So to add to Tony Khan's wonderful tournament list of doom, I swear to God, he must have like a little black book of just names of tournaments he comes up with. But we've got
Or he might have one of those situations where he's like Charlie Kelly from Always Sunny, where he's got like the wall where he's like got like pins, and he's like, Athena and Willow Nightingale, and oh my God, he like wakes up
from
in
the Indies.
He wakes up, yeah. There is no Willow from the Indies.
There
He
is
must, like-
most definitely a Willow from the Indies, and they're all waiting for their paychecks and their mail.
and they're shot at the Owen Hart Cup Championship, and
Yes.
that is what we have done over the last few weeks. The men's and the women's division both have had an incredible opportunity to win something that they really haven't even begun to tiptoe on how incredible it is that Dr. Martha Hart has given AEW the opportunity to have an Owen Hart tournament.
Well, she sure as hell ain't going to the other company.
No, of course not.
We won't even dip into the tragedy that is Owen Hart's
No.
unfortunate end of his life and how his legacy was handled.
No, but if you
by
do
the
want to see
company
any
that
of it,
killed him.
Dark Side of the Ring is on Hulu for a little bit longer.
Actually, I think it might be off as of today.
No, I think it's got a couple more days.
Either way, get on Dark Side of the Ring and stream it on YouTube so we can all watch it.
But at any rate, Dr. Martha Hart has been nothing but respectful, vice versa, to Tony Khan. So we were able to have a tournament between, like I said, the men's and women's division.
And we had this last year. Both Adam Cole and
Britt Baker
ended up winning. This week, we ended up seeing Ruby Soho getting the win over Sky Blue, which was a great match. Great to see Sky Blue
she's getting a hell of a push.
Oh, yeah. And the social media that she's been getting recently has been insane, and not for her wrestling either. But good on her. Glad to see her on TV. Ruby Soho gets the win. She was the one that actually lost to Britt Baker last year for the Owen Hart championship,
right.
Not the championship, the tournament. And
so
then we also had,
she had some.
She got a chip on her shoulder on this one.
Yeah. She really wanted to win this one, so she ended up advancing.
And then we also had a budding rivalry, that is already developed between Willow and Athena.
Yes,
they ended up going toe to toe, and prior to this, Willow challenged Athena that if she wins this match, I mean, maybe she should get a shot at that title. Athena said, well, maybe you should, and agreed to it. Again, going back to what I said earlier, nothing's been officially announced as far as I know right this second, but I do know that is the rumored plans for Supercard of Honor is Willow versus Athena for the ROH Women's Championship.
Now, she has faced her before. We were there in public. It was
oh my God,
an
what a
absolute
brutal
ass-beating slobber knocker of a match. Willow just stood absolutely no chance. Now, since then,
that's the second episode of ROH, if I remember right.
It was either the first or second because they recorded both nights in the same night that we were there, so it was hard to tell which one was which because we watched it all in one huge 4-hour or 5-hour chunk.
My ass was numb.
That was incredible. Like, Athena just absolutely annihilated Willow.
She did.
So at this point, Willow has won and unfortunately lost the Strong Women's title.
Yes.
And has a opportunity to go back at, one-on-one with Athena at Collision. It was the main event, and it was absolutely incredible. Willow finally got her shot, was able to have a really good back and forth with Athena, who is probably, honestly, the best women's champion in wrestling right now. She's incredible. Ooh. She's so hard hitting. I honestly,
the dedication of the characters immense.
I didn't think anybody stood a chance at beating her. So the fact that Willow beat her for the main event of Collision was honestly incredible. I didn't see it going that way.
Right. Well, I think the unfortunate events that happened at not Wrestle Kingdom. Was it Wrestle Kingdom when Willow won the belt? No, it wasn't Wrestle Kingdom. Either way, when Willow ended up wrestling... Battle in the Valley.
Yes,
when she ended up wrestling Mercedes Moné, she ended up injuring her ankle, and they pulled an audible, and Willow ended up getting the championship. And I think when that happened, it kind of put a spotlight on Willow, and I think Tony Khan kind of looked at it and went, well, we're going to run with this.
Yeah, because he was the one that picked her to go up against Mercedes in the first place. So
right.
Thankfully, they've established a great relationship with NJPW, and they ran with it for a few weeks.
That one might be a little stressed after the events of this night.
Yeah. Willow had some great matches in ROH, was in Dynamite, was definitely defending that title and having her matches. So
just recently lost to Juliana in Stardom.
Yep.
So, I mean, great to see that belt moving around.
That was Julia.
What did I say? Juliana? Whatever. She's a French fry. But yeah, Willow and Athena had a hell of a match. Athena ended up coming up short and ended up losing to Willow. So Willow is now in the works of getting a title shot of the ROH Women's title.
Yeah, and moves forward to face Ruby Soho in the championship.
And move forward, and I mean, we'll spoil it for you right now. I mean, Ruby Soho coming up short again for the second year in a row. I
thought Ruby was going to win it. Makes perfect sense. 2 years in a row. She's been fighting for it. She finally gets it. That makes sense.
And I can see a heel winning it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then Willow wins against Athena. So now she's got a title shot. We've got Supercard of Honor next week. It sets that up. It was perfect. I cannot believe Willow won.
They gave it to Willow, yeah.
They gave it to Willow. So then you got Willow Nightingale is the Owen Hart
Women's
Cup
Owen Hart Cup tournament winner.
champion. And we move on to the main event of Collision that night, which is CM Punk versus Ricky Starks. And I know one of the things that you said to me as the match was happening or kind of beforehand was hopefully they weren't just going to give it over to CM Punk. After everything that's been happening, I think he's been great. I love him on Collision. I love the matches he's had. But it seemed like this was such a good opportunity to give Ricky Starks a push.
Right.
CM Punk made him look great. And holy shit, Ricky Starks won too.
I don't think you could have done it any other way but to give it to Ricky Starks over CM Punk.
Interesting way to win, though.
If it was anybody other than CM Punk on the other side of the ring, I feel like you could have had an argument as to who you would want to give it to.
Right.
But I feel like this is
homegrown talent.
Well, yeah, this is that perfect example of CM Punk coming into AEW saying, I'm not trying to steal the spotlight from these guys.
Right.
I'm trying to push these guys into the spotlight.
As they should.
And I feel like this was an opportunity to do that. Now, the one thing that they did real well with this is they gave it a little bit of extra at the end of it. Now, CM Punk and Ricky Starks have been on the same side with the initial debut episode of AEW Collision. They had Team CMFTR and Ricky Starks took on Bullet Club Gold and the Ass Boys, and they've kind of had an alliance since then. And
yeah, they're doing interviews backstage. CM Punk has his arm around Ricky Starks.
Always
they're really trying to establish they're
great,
like good friends, you know?
Which is really, really good. But then they end up, having to go face to face in this match. And last week, when this all kind of happened, Ricky Starks didn't seem like he was too excited about it. It might have just been, some like pre-fight jitters or whatever you want. But I think we kind of saw some truer colors from Ricky after this match when he rolled up CM Punk and he held the rope to get the win. And I feel like when you do that to somebody which you kind of consider a mentor, which is what they're selling this whole CM Punk, FTR, and Ricky Starks thing, is that CM Punk's taking them all under the wing and be like, I'm going to boost you guys. It just kind of feels like, okay, you gave this to a good talent that was deserving of it, that is a homegrown AEW talent.
Right.
You didn't give it to the former WWE guy who's very controversial, who's
already been out for a while,
who has already made more T-shirt sales than Ricky Starks has probably his entire 4 years of being in AEW. But you allow the story to have a little bit of life left over. I
loved it.
Punk can come out in next week. He can come out in
and he's going
6 weeks and
he's
be
going
like,
to come out and say, I saw what you did. You didn't really beat me.
Exactly. You sly dog. You got one over. Get back in the ring. Let's run it again.
Right.
And then Ricky can either get back in the ring and you can have a series with CM Punk to where, it's just two guys going back and forth to prove who's the best. Or you can have Ricky develop back into that really good heel role that he's good in. And I think that's what they're doing.
I'm okay with that.
I think because even when he won the match, ran up the ramp, and Jushin Liger, the legendary NJP, did I say it wrong again?
No, you said it right. It's just what a good moment.
He comes out, goes to hand Ricky the trophy, and Ricky just kind of snatches it out of his hand. Now, you got to think, this guy's a legend. Like, there's one of the most recognizable NJPW stars of all time. And he snatches it out of his hand. It got so much of attention that the owner of NJPW tweeted out, "Where's your respect?" with the clip. I don't know what they're doing with it, but I'm loving
some
it.
NJPW thing. Like I'm totally into it. But what a
so
what a
good.
great way to just make Liger fly out. Come out to this event. I don't know where he's from. He might be from Canada too, but come out to this event, make this appearance just to do that, shrug, and then that's the end of it.
Right, yeah.
It was just absolutely hysterical. I don't know. I felt like if Owen would have seen it, he would have laughed.
Oh, yeah. It was great.
They just did such a good job of being respectful to him. I mean, they got the Owen chants. They got a moment to kind of talk, and Martha gave them their cups and their praises and their belts, and it was really fun. It was really cool, but yeah. The way that they did it with Ricky was great. Like you said, he absolutely deserved the win, but that little twist at the end was good. Fun. There's so much to develop here.
There's your fucking long-term storytelling, dickheads.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. There's your little bit. You've been wanting it, and Tony Khan's been taking a little bit longer, but I feel like he's starting to get it a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting though because there hasn't been any talk about Jay White saying something to CM Punk about what he's got in his red bag.
I'm wondering if that's what we're slowly going to start seeing now that we've got
FTR and Ricky out of the way.
Right, now that those storylines have kind of cinched up for the time being, I'm wondering if it's going to start rolling together.
All right, so that's going to wrap it up for AEW. We'll go over the matches and everything that's going to be happening upcoming this week at the end of the podcast.
Lots of stuff coming up.
Let's just move right on into, again, NJPW and their G1 Climax. On July 14th, there was a press conference. Basically, each block comes out, as we said before. There's, 8 guys in each block?
8 per block, 32 overall, so 4 blocks. So you end up having 2 blocks, so 16 guys were out sitting at little tables in front of a camera. And we honestly, God, I didn't even know what to expect. The only reason we ended up watching it was we heard that Eddie Kingston had did some Eddie Kingston shit.
Yonker shit.
So we were like, okay, well, let's check it out. And
we
I
weren't
fired
doing
it up.
anything.
It was for free on NJPWworld.com.
It's still there if you want to watch it.
We had a moment where we had like half an hour to ourselves, so we sat down and threw it on the laptop, and we started watching it. And my God, I have never been more entertained by a press conference. It was probably an hour and a half.
I didn't know what to expect, but everybody, it was about an hour and a half, and everybody got a moment to basically say whatever they wanted to say,
or not say,
or say nothing.
There were so many moments. Tomohiro Ishii came out.
There were so many
he only
moments.
said,
"There's more to set up before you get into this."
All right.
Basically, from what I can understand and what I get from this is that it's supposed to be like a black tie event. You're supposed to be dressed
it's professional.
up really nice.
It's a press conference. You're presenting the company that you are working for. Like, you need to be a professional.
Now,
even baseball players tuck their goddamn shirts
Sure. I thought it was going to be more like the press was going to have some like questions for like the people that were there, the wrestlers that were there.
A standard press conference.
Yeah,
Press
Sonata, who are you looking forward to going up against?
Right.
Things like that. That was not in the slightest what it was. So basically, they took a moment. They introduced every person. Everybody got a chance to sit down. There wasn't like no particular pairings when people were sitting down, because they were just putting people next to each other, and it was people in the same faction, people in different factions, but it was like 2 people at each like desk, and they were just lining all the guys up, and then one by one they called each and every one of them up, and every one of them had, like you said, something to say, or possibly nothing really to say at all.
And you had anywhere from as short as Tomohiro Ishii saying, "I'm going to beat the crap out of everyone up here." That was his entire speech.
Or Great-O-Khan said no comment
and then walked
away
off the stage. To you had, oh my God, there was just so many. El Phantasmo, I don't know, is selling a throat injury to where he can't speak.
Yeah, he tried to talk, and
he couldn't talk.
Covered up the throat.
Walks up to the announcer and hands him his phone.
Chris, I can't remember his last name.
And he like kind of motions like, "I need you to speak for me, like announce for me." So the announcer starts reading his speech off of his phone, and I can't even describe. Like, it is the most ridiculous shit talking from a man who is not saying a word and is using his body to like go with
script everything.
It was that, and Zack Sabre Jr. shows up. He walks completely around the entire place, goes in the crowd, does a mic test for 35, 45 seconds, runs up, puts the mic back, yells, "I'll do my best," and then goes and sits down. It was interesting because if you didn't know who people were, there were a few people that I didn't know who they were. You got a lot from this interview because you could talk for, I swear Alex Coughlin went 5 minutes, or like you said, that promo
Great-O-Khan was 5 seconds. If you watch anything from it, I really do think that Alex Coughlin put his heart and his absolute soul in what he did. And some people, like you said, make me laugh so hard. I was like, and of course it had to be the American guys.
Of course.
We're just so goofy. The one guy, what was it, Shane Hasty showed up.
He showed up in Dumb and Dumber, the orange tuxedo.
Oh my God. It was just so incredibly funny. But some people took it very lighthearted. Some people took it very seriously. It
seemed like, and you had said it perfect. It was either you were showing up and talking shit about your opponent that was coming up, or you were talking shit about NJPW as a company.
Right. And they didn't care what you did.
No.
There was no stopping anybody from saying anything. Again, i.e. Alex Coughlin, please do watch it.
Oh my God, yeah.
There was no like, we're going to cut off your mic.
One of the hardest promos of not just NJPW, not the G1 Climax, one of the hardest promos of the year
I've ever watched.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it really did have his entire heart and soul into it. it was great. You know, Will Ospreay said, I just came off a win from Kenny Omega. Why aren't more people talking about me?
Right.
Like you said, Tomohiro Ishii was like, I'm going to beat everybody's ass. It was just so fun to see what people had to say.
It got us excited. Like
it really did.
Recently, and I've said this before on the podcast, I've been getting into NJPW. I've grown to really love the style, and I've been wanting to getting into watching it on a weekly basis. I wasn't sure what to expect out of this press conference, but by the time of the press conference was over, by the time I had seen all 32 of these men,
and we did. We sat there and watched all of it.
Every single one. The only thing we skipped was the entrances. They just introduce them, they walk out, and they sit down. Mm-hmm. But it got me so excited, and now I was ready for the next day where you had 8 matches between A block and B block, and it got me so excited for this. Mm-hmm. It really did. It was one of those like, oh my God, whether they made me laugh or they made me like cry from frustration watching their promos and how good it was. I wanted to see every single one of these matches. It's a round robin, so everybody in the block will wrestle everyone. So there's a minimum 7 matches. So everybody wrestles everyone. It's based on a point system. 2 points if you win, 1 point if it goes to a draw, 0 points if you lose. And it's got me so excited. I'm ready for. I think the new one's on tonight at 4 a.m. So we'll end up being able to watch it tomorrow. I'm more excited for that than I am for the Bloodline, for Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, for the women's heavyweight championship that Rhea's holding.
It's so good because again, like the 20 minutes, it was so quick. Like you saw a lot. Like you got a lot from these wrestlers, but there was so much that you didn't see. So you want more. You want to see who these people are facing next. And the second the matches were over, the winner, it would show them walking out and it would say, okay, this person is facing this person on the next time. And it was like, oh my God.
Instantly hyped.
I can't believe this is happening next. So it just that
match between El Phantasmo, or not El Phantasmo, who was it between? Gabriel Kidd and I just forgot his name. Owens. I mean, it was the match was, I guess, longer than it should have been. It was less than 20 minutes, but it went longer because they didn't start the match because he just came out and beat the shit out of him. The first 8
Gabe Kidd
minutes
just attacked him, and again, nobody stopped.
Gabe Kidd's another one. I am like nipples hard to watch this kid.
Up. He beat the shit.
He's like a pit bull with 3 testicles. Like
he beat the shit out of Chase Owens outside of the ring.
And Chase Owens got the win.
Well, he said, "I've been through 3 generations of Bullet Club. I'm not losing now."
He's like, "I'm not." Yeah, he's like, "I'm for life." Like. But that right there, that is the perfect example. Gabriel Kidd wiped the floor with Chase Owens for 7-8 straight minutes, threw him through barricades, chairs, into the crowd, destroyed the stage, threw him over things, under things, into things. And as soon as they got into the ring, Chase Owens hits him with a knee and it changes the entire dynamic. They went back and forth and Chase Owens gets the win. And it's like, watching it was phenomenal.
Well, and on the way out, Gabe Kidd is like ripping the barricades apart, and Kevin Kelly's talking about how he might be suspended or he might get disqualified from the G1 because he's destroying the set. And it was like, wow, this is just, it's so good. They didn't just have the matches. They made sure everything was just so intricately done. God, pardon me, and you're going to have to help me on this second day, the one we just watched. We watched a match, and we thought, oh, we're just going to skip over this really quickly. And we sat there for about 2 seconds watching it. Was it Hiroki Goto?
Yes, and Toru Yano?
Oh, my God, we were dying. It was absolutely hysterical.
But it was such a good match.
It was so well done.
The first few minutes, exactly, we were crying. We were laughing so hard.
I was like, I can't turn this.
The second half, we were like, yo, these guys can go. These guys can throw hard. Like, they're hitting hard. They're throwing moves. Like,
there was a spot where they were both about to, like, Irish whip each other into the barricade, and they went back and forth.
Oh, the infinite Irish whip?
It just kept going, and somebody's like, by God, let go of the other guy. Kevin Kelly's yelling at them, and I was crying laughing. The exchange under the ring was just, oh, my God.
Oh, with Janu's I don't know if it's like his like mascot or whatever,
like French fries or something. It was ridiculous, but
it has the best combination of silly, goofy Japanese wrestling and that serious, oh my God, how is he still alive wrestling?
Right.
Will Ospreay getting the loss?
Yeah,
in that first one
after
to YouTube guy
killing Will Ospreay. It was so well thought out and so well done.
So good.
It wasn't, you couldn't just sit there and be like, oh, I know exactly who's going to win all of this, because you would have been wrong. David Finlay wiped the floor with Ishii there at the end of their match.
Oh, poor Ishii.
I mean, wow, you want to put each other over, the Stone Pitbull and David Finlay, like the new leader of Bullet Club.
He's definitely
War
one.
Dogs.
He's definitely one that
Man.
I've got my eye on, is David Finlay.
I can't believe how strong he is. He picked up Ishii like he was a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Now, here's what I think, and we talk about this all the time off mic, obviously. I think that there's going to be some really big drama with the Bullet Club this year. I think that David Finlay is taking. You brought up the name War Dogs. That is Alex Coughlin and Gabe Kidd. They are the tag team known as the War Dogs within the Bullet Club, and they've literally been described as just guys to bring bodies. Like, that's what they're there to do.
Yeah, David Finlay said, if you don't have gold, you bring bodies.
And they've got gold. They've got the NJPW Strong Tag Team Championships, and they're not stopping. They're absolutely just... it's a much
only
more
the beginning for these
vicious
guys.
version of the Bullet Club. It's right back to what David Finlay said, that he's going to turn it into no longer a T-shirt club. Really think that got showcased this week when you had Gabe Kidd taking on
Chase Owens.
Chase Owens. I'm having a hard time tonight, guys. I'm sorry. To where they're both Bullet Club, but
like,
there's a viciousness.
Factions, yeah.
There's a viciousness from the War Dogs, and I think that's going to be what's going to split the Bullet Club into two different factions that will war.
Gabe Kidd was laid out, and Chase Owens had just won, and he walked up to Gabe Kidd on the ground and gave him the too sweet, and was like, huh, and kind of walked off, like, and said, grabbed the mic and was like, I've been through 3 generations of this. Like, this kid isn't going to take me out.
Yeah,
so
it's like, I'm Bullet Club for life, so.
Very interesting, because, again, we have AEW's Bullet Club faction there as well that just gained the guns.
Yes.
It could bleed over very well. The forbidden door is always open. It's not closed.
Speaking of AEW and NJPW, you've got Eddie Kingston, who one of the reasons why we're watching the G1 Climax.
Yeah, I mean,
Eddie Kingston.
He could have lost every single thing. I was just so stoked for him, because if you know anything about Eddie Kingston, it's been his absolute dream to wrestle in Japan. And here he is. He beat Kenta for, what is it, the Defy Championship?
No, for the
Kenta has a Defy Championship now.
He is now the NJPW Strong Openweight Champion.
Okay, but at any rate, he went to Japan, won that from Kenta, which is absolutely huge. Go ahead and fact check yourself if you got a moment. Was able to win that championship, and now here he is in the G1, which is huge. I mean, there's 32 guys, but to have an opportunity to be a part of this is not something to be taken lightly. And he killed it. He
even said when he debuted in Karuken Hall against Kenta that his dream is to wrestle for NJPW in Japan for some of the best fans of pro wrestling. And now he's involved in the best tournament of professional wrestling of all time. I couldn't imagine. He must be over the moon. And then he gets his first match as a win. Like, even if he loses, like you said, the rest of the matches for the rest of the block. I mean, I'm so excited for Eddie to be able to have this opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited to see, like, maybe he's not going to be such a slouch as everybody probably assumes he's going to be in. Not that I'm saying he's lazy, but
no.
I'm sure he's the underdog. It's the first time he's been in Japan wrestling in NJPW. It's the first time he's been in a tournament of this size. You know what I mean?
Caliber.
So, a lot of things going against him, and to have him win that first match to get those 2 points to start off on the right foot. Oh,
that's
so
huge. Real quick, I was just going back to fact check you to see, and yes, Eddie Kingston is the NJPW Strong Openweight Champion. That was correct.
I have a brain, and I know how to use it sometimes.
You did it. I just wanted to point out that I just saw an article that came out from today that said that Eddie Kingston challenges Shinto Takagi to face him at AEW All In or All Out.
Ooh.
So there we go. Now it's the Forbidden Door is always open. Now we're talking about having matches in England.
Yeah, but that's in the. Is he talking about his match in the G1 Summit?
No.
Just a separate one? Like, hey, I'm doing this G1 Summit, but if you want to fight, let's do that too.
Eddie has challenged Shingo for either All In or All Out pay-per-view. Now it's your call, Tony Khan.
Well, goddamn. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for wrestling.
That's
this
because they had a match. They had a match at G1.
Right.
That was who he faced at G1. So he said he wanted a rematch at either All In or All Out.
Gotcha.
And that's what's great about AEW is it's just so exciting. You don't know when it's going to bleed over. You know, people like John Moxley and Claudio are like, hey, we have our work visas. We can come over to Japan whenever we want to.
Right. And I'm sure John has plans to do that because you don't get a work visa for Japan just to
go there once.
Yeah, no. So lots of stuff going on with the G1 Summit. Like I said, the first 2 episodes, 16 total matches. You've got
it's free.
Sonata
Do yourself
takes on
a favor.
Hikuleo. Taishi takes on Will Ospreay. You've got Mikey Nichols taking on Aaron Henare.
Oh,
which we
and
haven't watched that one yet.
As weird as it is, and I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion or if anybody thought the same thing. My favorite match of night 1, by far, Shota Umino and Ren Narita. What a fucking
ending in the draw.
Stellar match. These two are like the super young, just graduated
you got
young
Ren
lions.
Narita, you've got Shota Umino, you've got Gabe Kidd, and you've got Alex Coughlin. All have recently
Fresh
graduated
talent.
from being a young lion.
Right.
Being a young lion in NJPW is basically you're a trainee. You're somebody who's trying to make a name. You're trying to be a part of the community. You're trying to be a part of the company.
Right.
And in doing so, you have to basically do your chops, do your licks, get your laps
ass
in,
beat
you know
by
what I mean?
Ishii, and that's
you gotta
like the
set
whole
the
thing
rings
of it.
up. You gotta set chairs up.
Yes.
You gotta break down and set up everything.
And you also
do
have
your
to
stuff.
apprentice in a different country. Now, some companies will let you pick where you go, but some companies decide for you. And I actually read a blog from Shota Umino when he graduated that he was able to go to England. Will Ospreay said, I got you. I'll take care of you if you're out here.
Right.
And he stayed with like 3 or 4 people that were not wrestlers. He said it was super weird and it was just horrible the whole time. But that's
what you
part
gotta
of it.
do.
That's part of graduating is working in other places.
It's earning your stripes in the company. You're basically trying to prove to them, like, I'm willing to go through hell for this company. The training you're giving me and the opportunities that you're giving me and the spotlight you're giving me, I'm willing to drag myself through hell to give that to you.
And then after they do go through that period of being international from where they are, they come back to Japan and they pick their faction, and that's when the story starts. So, and like you said, all 4 of these guys have recently picked their,
and a lot
their
of that,
faction.
A lot of that gets played in Alex Coughlin's promo. He talks about being in the LA dojo because that's the Americanized version of NJPW. Here is the LA dojo. And he spent
Shibata's running that.
He moved from New York to LA to be there, and he goes into what he had to sacrifice and what he wasn't able to attend, big major life, changing events that he wasn't able to experience because he was committed to the NJPW lifestyle. And my God, what a promo. What an absolute. I'm so excited for the rest of the G1. We've literally just started.
Just
There's
the tip
so
of the
much
iceberg.
More.
They're only just beginning some rivalries. They've obviously got people who have hated each other for a long time that are in this, but it's just so interesting because, there wasn't a bad match that we watched.
No.
There wasn't one single one that was worth skipping.
We put it on.
Very intriguing.
We put it on going, okay, we're going to start watching it. If we get kind of bored on a match, we'll skip over it, go to one we want to watch.
Never got bored.
We never got bored. We were watching people we've hardly ever heard of that we just recently heard of.
Yep. The announcers were great. The refs are great.
Atmosphere was great.
And it just flew by. Hours of watching this just absolutely flew by. We'd go to the bathroom, take a break, and be like, what match is next?
We'll probably end up watching some more after we get done recording this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So do yourself a favor. Head on to, what is it, NJPW World?
NJPWworld.com. It's 999 yen, which comes out to like $7.70. You get, they have their entire schedule there. They have English announcing. They also have Japanese if you're into
which
that.
Is a ride if you want to watch it.
If you're not into people announcing, if you're used to your Michael Coles and your JRs and you don't want to go outside that purview, I highly suggest loading up the Japanese Japanese announcing because number one,
they get hype.
They get hype. If you don't understand the words, you don't need to worry about it because the emotion they bring in their announcing is more than enough.
You feel it. It radiates.
And then even that, half the time when I'm watching wrestling, I'll admit to you, I don't listen to the announcing. Jamie will laugh at something, and then I will have to look at her and be like, what did they say? I'm terrible
I'm a big
with
dork.
it. So
I love listening to it.
The Japanese announcing is my favorite.
It's intense.
But like I said, it's like just under $8. You get at least once a week you get wrestling, if not twice a week, because they usually have a Japanese show and then they have the NJPW Strong, which is the American dojo.
Right.
You
Japanese talent is just incredible too.
Oh yeah.
And again, it's not just Japanese talent. There's people from Australia, from England, from the United States that are all integrated in there.
And one thing I do like, and I don't think a lot of people talk about this with NJPW World, is you get some of the pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm. You do,
but they're in Japanese. That's the only. That's the only drawback, is they're in Japanese.
It's not a drawback, though. Really,
if you don't mind that, especially if you have people over and you're not listening to the announcers, that's the best way to go. We've watched like 2 or 3 pay-per-views for free because they have it on there in Japanese. So it's well worth. In my opinion, it's worth it more than Peacock is.
Yeah.
It's even worth it more than ROH.
Yeah, and it is one of those things. We've talked about ROH, about subscribing to them, and you'd be surprised who's on there. You'd be surprised who has been a part of NJPW if you don't know anything about it. I mean, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers is Eddie Guerrero, and he spent time there. So it's one of
legendary
those
career.
You would be really surprised to know, if you don't know anything about NJPW, who
John Moxley,
who spent time there, Andre the Giant, and
Hogan.
Hulk
Hogan was an amazing Japanese wrestler that when he finally came back over to the States and signed to WWF again, not signed him again, but got more involved in WWF as a product, turned into a shitty ass wrestler. But he had a legendary run in Japan, like you said, Andre the Giant, Big Van Vader. He was big in Japan. You also had Prince Albert, if you remember him.
Say that too.
Lord Tensai. His name was like Big Greg or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, so many people. Owen Hart. He had an illustrious career in Japan. There's a reason why Japan's been around in like one of the best meccas for wrestling. If
you're only a WWE fan, you may not know that. I grew up just a pure WCW fan at first, and then WWE, WWF fan. So they never talked about really Japan. They never had a really big relationship like AEW does now, to where they talked about people's time within the company.
Right.
So as an adult, when I finally got introduced to this Japanese wrestling, and you go back and you're like, that's where Eddie Guerrero went? Holy shit, that makes so much sense. You find out about what happened to people's lives, and they go and they do stuff like this to get better. Or look at Sasha Banks.
And how many times have you seen Japanese wrestlers back in the 90s show up and you're like, I have no idea who this guy is, but he's awesome. And then you never see him again. Again, Jushin Liger was one of them.
Right.
He'd show up and you're like, this dude looks like a bad guy from a Power Rangers episode.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's doing all these flippy moves, and he's doing all these crazy things. You're like, oh, this is awesome. And like, where do I find out about? Back then, there was no Google. I couldn't just who's the bald guy with the leather vest going hell yeah on TV? You couldn't search for that even with WWE. But really digging this the Japanese style. Really digging this NJPW. Really encouraging anybody and everybody who is a wrestling fan to go and check it out.
Follow us on this journey.
Oh yeah, we're going to be tweeting about it. We won't be tweeting live on.
No, we're not getting up that early.
No.
Mark gets up that early to go to work, but we're not watching wrestling that early. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode by going over everything that's going to be happening this week in AEW and WWE wrestling.
We're not going to go over everything NJPW because
we already told you about that.
There's 16 matches. They're all fighting each other. Just go to njpwworld.com. It'll show you who's going, but we're going to be watching all of that too.
Yes. So as far as WWE and AEW, we're going to hit you real quick with the espresso shot and go over the matches. We got, this isn't going to be a match. Brock Lesnar returns to respond to Cody Rhodes. I have a suspicion he's going to say yes to that match. Alpha Academy are taking on...
I think Vince said yes to that match.
Yeah. Alpha Academy are taking on the Viking Raiders in a Viking Rules match. We've already seen this happen before. I don't know what Viking Rules means.
There are no rules.
I think
that is the idea of a Viking Rules. I think it's just a no DQ match.
Yep, that would make sense.
They're going to steal her jacket back.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are taking on the Judgment Day. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are taking on Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville for the Women's Tag Team Championship. And I almost thought we read incorrectly when I saw that Gunther is taking on Riddle, even though that's already happened as well.
Now, didn't that happen at
the last pay-per-view and just a few weeks ago? Yes. Right. On SmackDown, we have the WWE United States Championship Invitational Fatal 4-Way match. God, you would have thought Tony Khan booked this. LA Knight, Cameron Grimes, Rey Mysterio, and Sheamus are going in a 4-way match, and the winner will be taking on United States Champion Austin Theory.
That's actually wrong.
That is wrong.
I did the same thing.
Oh, no. they will be facing
There
the
you go.
winners of the 4-way that'll be happening at
That already
Raw.
happened.
That happened last week, with the winner being Santos Escobar.
There you go.
There we go.
I got
know
corrected
what's
very
going on.
rudely by somebody on Twitter
Thanks
when I
for-
said that exact same thing about the
Yep.
match that happened on Monday.
Yep. Thanks to the people that love to call us out on Twitter.
I love the interaction that we get on Twitter. It's only negative.
Very positive
when I
or very
say
negative.
The wrong
Hold
thing.
on, we can't say anything too bad, because I have two people that I want to shout out on Twitter, if you don't mind. We have at Wade Ilson. First off, that's a great name. And at Carly Cruz 93. Thank you both.
Both on Twitter.
I swear I thought I was getting trolled, because two people individually went out of their way to tag us on Twitter post recommending
Additional
wrestling
other
podcasts to other people that
so
weren't
thank you
their
so
own.
much.
So
like really from the
thank
bottom
you.
of our heart, we really do appreciate it. It warms our heart that you think that other people should listen to two people that talk about wrestling in their bedroom. But we also have on AEW coming up on Dynamite, we have Adam Cole and MJF will be taking on Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara for the finals in the blind tag team tournament. Winners will get a shot at the AEW Tag Team Champions FTR. Hangman Adam Page, Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, and Kota Ibushi will be taking on Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Konosuke Takeshita, and Pac in a blood and guts match on Wednesday. And
You heard it. It happened. Ibushi is coming.
Pac?
I'm not mad at it.
I'm not mad at it
mean,
either. It was
if
one
they
of
had
those
to
like
pick somebody who is going to be intense and like have a moment,
and has a rivalry with Kenny Omega.
right?
But
it
I
makes
just
sense.
It was not. I didn't know who to expect, but Pac was not on my bingo card.
No, same.
Not in the least bit.
Same. I figured somebody from Japan.
I figured
Again, with
some,
what they've been
somebody
doing.
BCC.
Shota.
Yeah. But
Shota, I guess would have made sense, but he's in the G1. So with the G1 going on, I guess they didn't have as much of an opportunity to bring some people over. But it was very interesting, because you said, is that Pac? I'm like, why would he be out here? And it was.
Mm-hmm.
It was him. So, he is super quick. He's a big dude, but he can move very quickly. It's kind of like
Super
Orange
agile.
Cassidy, like Brian Cage we were talking about before. He's very
He's like a
agile.
mini version. It's like if you take Brian Cage and you shrunk him down.
He's fast, he's quick, but it's going to make sense for this BCC
Oh, yeah, of course.
dynamic, and of
With
course,
the two cages, with
golden
yeah.
lovers on the other side. Anything's possible.
Also on AEW Rampage, we'll be seeing the return of the Royal Rampage. Now, remind me, I don't remember what a Royal Rampage is.
So basically, what happened is they already have it set up for Blood and Guts. They already have the two rings set up. What they did last year was they had like a Royal Rumble kind of thing. People would
That's right,
slowly
with the tag team
come
champion,
in.
or with the tag teams, right?
It wasn't tag teams. It
wasn't?
was singles, but there were a lot of tag teams that were in it. Like Keith Lee and Swerve were in it, and that was when they were starting to have
That's
the
right.
animosity between them. And I think at one point, Swerve tried to throw Keith Lee out, and Keith Lee caught him or something like
Vice
that.
versa, something like
so
that. I
it
do
has some
remember it now.
tag teams in there, and it's a great way to throw like an interesting dynamic with the people that they put in there. I think there was like 20 guys last year, and
Right.
they could just throw a bunch of random people in there, but they've already had Ethan Page, Isaiah Cassidy, and Matt Hardy say that they were going to be a part of the Royal Rampage. And then
This
Jay
year's.
Lethal, yes. Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal and Satnam Singh are also going to be a part of it as well. So now you already have that it could go the three of them versus
Yeah, 'cause
the other
they've already
three,
had a budding
and then
storyline
within
already.
their own storyline. Because I mean, Matt Hardy and Ethan Page aren't even supposed to be on the same page. It all started off with them being on the opposite, and then Matt got his contract after Ethan had Matt's contract, and now they're like on the same page with Isaiah.
Well, now
and
it's kind of the
so
same.
good.
It's kind of the same thing as when Matt was in that position.
Right.
It was, I don't have a choice, so I'm going to embrace this, because if I'm embracing it, it sucks less.
Yes.
And now Ethan
that's what
Page
Ethan's
is doing.
doing.
Yeah, he's embracing it, looking for a way out, but no, there's no way out. So he's like, whatever, I'll just do this.
Right. So I don't know if there's going to be anything between maybe Matt Hardy and Ethan Page, or again, obviously the opposite side with Jeff and Jay and Satnam
Right.
Singh being in there.
They've always got controversy with somebody.
But it's going to be fun nonetheless, because they already have the two rings set up. Last year, Brody King was the winner, so
Yeah,
Maybe we'll keep it with the big guys and let them win. I mean, look at the career he's had since he won that match.
Yeah, right. So it'll definitely be interesting come Rampage next week. But we also have AEW Collision we will be seeing, and this was just recently announced.
Speaking of Brody.
The House of Black, Buddy Matthews, Brody King, and Malachi Black, the AEW Trios champions, will be defending their belts against the Acclaimed of Max Caster, Anthony Bowens, and Daddy Ass Billy Gunn.
Yes. Now, they said they worked their way up when they were on Collision this week, and said that they worked their way all the way back up to the top of the Trios division, and that they're going to be having another match against them on Collision.
Very tall, very large tree to climb to the top of in the House
and
of
those
Black.
are two completely different tag teams.
Oh yeah, well
they couldn't be further in personality.
They just had the match between the Kings of the Black Throne, which is Brody King and Malachi Black, taking on, and there were the 2 or 3 websites I looked at, I couldn't find their name. Every single one of them.
They must not even announce them.
They have no literally there is no other name but to call them jobbers. Like there's nothing else. They just absolutely decimated these 2 poor guys. Just to,
as they do,
and that's just to further push this Andrade Alidolo storyline they've got going with him. They have his mask. He wants his mask back.
By the way, great job of Ian Riccaboni on Collision this week.
Not the first time. Idolo.
No, I wasn't actually going to make fun of him. That was Kevin Kelly, by the way. But Ian Riccaboni was on AEW Collision this week because Kevin Kelly was over in New Japan doing the G1 Climax. If you got an opportunity to see Ian Riccaboni's outfit, he was all dressed up for the occasion in Canada.
And the Dollar General version of JR's barbecue.
Yeah, in the pink.
The pink salmon colored shirt with a white cowboy hat that was about a size too big for his head.
Yeah, it was great.
It was good. It was really good. But I think that'll do it. Like I said, lots of wrestling this week between
There's a ton.
WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, NJPW, Impact. Eric Young's back in Impact Wrestling. Congratulations,
Trinity
back to him.
won a belt.
Trinity's the Impact Women's Champion,
Yeah, knockout
champion.
Yep.
Speaking of women's knockout, got to give a shout out to our girl ODB. She just recently got married in the past couple of weeks. So much stuff happening.
Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich picked up the women's tag team belts as well.
Yep, and also to top all the news off, Maki Ito has expressed an interest in going to AEW. And I am all for it.
Really excited about that.
I'm 100% Maki Army. Let's go all day.
You want John Silver to get happy. You're going to tell me Maki Ito's in AEW?
John Silver and Maki Ito. When is Maki Ito joining the Dark Order?
She's already been a part of it.
Join the Dark Order.
There you go.
But I think that will do it.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you again.
Make sure if you haven't already, you follow us on Twitter where we rant, rave, sometimes just...
Mostly rant.
Yeah. That's most of it. But we follow all of these exciting...
social media platforms at CAW Wrestling Pod.
Yes, but we make sure that we tweet all these live events between AEW, WWE. You'll see us doing the G1 Climax as well this week. Make sure you follow us if you haven't already.
Yeah, follow us at CAW Wrestling Pod, and that's on every platform, whether we post on it or not. It's Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads. That's a new thing that Instagram's come out. It's trying to dethrone Twitter. I don't think I've actually opened it since I downloaded it, but we're on at CAW Wrestling Pod at Threads.
Hey, we even are updating Wikipedia pages now, so you just never know where you're going to see us.
Keep your Wikipedia pages up to date, ladies and gentlemen. But you can find me in my own personal Twitter at I'm not at CAW Wrestling Pod. My personal Twitter is at Gunk Dudley.
And I'm at a bacon party.
And make sure you start every week with a fresh cup of coffee and wrestling, a wrestling podcast, as we post new episodes every Monday on every podcasting platform you could ever imagine, even the ones you couldn't imagine that they actually have podcasting platforms on. I'm turning British. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you in the next episode.